حاليا حاليا طبيب مبتعث من جامعة الملك عبد العزيز. بخلص الزمالة بطب النوم أو السليم ميديسن فellowship في كليفلاند كلينيك. أنا لي 8 سنوات مبتعث. ف I will share my experience بإذن الله. And I think I applied to a residency before. I came here. Um, I mean, things are different now than back 5 or 7 years ago. And hopefully I can lay down the road to applying to U.S. residency programs. And I will also at the end share my personal experience throughout the years with you guys. Um, so based on the objectives I had from Gaze, that things that you want me to talk about is first, so I don't want to tell you details that you can find in the websites. I hear that you guys are actually having few other lectures from other people rather than me who had a US experience. So what I would like to focus is on the overview of the US experience, not based on only my personal or from anyone a point of view. I would like you to think it as your view. So how can that will apply to you? So first, we would like to talk about the timeline. As you are, if you are a medical student, you would like to know if it's too early to think about a U.S. Experience. What do you need to do if you actually should start working on? Okay, 1 second. Sorry about that. So, what do you when you need to start, if you are actually planning to apply, is it too early to apply or start doing something, some research? And what you should expect if you are applying for a United States experience? Should you actually apply um, to U.S. Residency program, or should you apply locally or maybe another country? And even if you're applying, what is the difference between local training in Saudi Arabia or abroad training in general and United States specifically? And then I will talk about sponsorships because there is a lot of confusion. Things change over the years. I would like to talk in details about what it means, what is affiliation, what is sponsorship, so you can have a good idea about what you should do and where you should search for that information if you need to. Okay. So let's just start. So first, the process of applying to the United States program. I need you to know it's a long journey. You need to start as early as possible. Things are different than 5, 7 years ago. You guys have now more resources, people. There is more information about applying, but still you need to plan early. And I think if you are graduating or you already graduated, it's maybe too late. I think you should start even when you are in medical school because you need to prepare, and prepare will take to be prepared will prepare to apply. It will take time. So if I take the timeline, first I need you to know that there is something. If you are applying to the United States, you need to know few acronyms. First one you need to know is ERAS. ERAS means Electronic Residency Application System. This is the most common use name that you're gonna use it. Like I know, Sardia we use Momaris Plus, so ERAS is basically Momaris Plus for the United States. Um, so if you are in medical school right now, you have to check the requirements. You're gonna tell me okay, what I can do. I'm still doing medical schools. I have exams. You have to check the requirements right now. If you have to check the timeline because you need to know when you should join the cycle. The cycle is over the year. I know here in Saudi, in like for every year in March, I think the cycle start in January and end up like in March, and the results usually by end of April, where you are matching. And I don't want to talk about matching because I assume everyone knows what match means by now, since it's both in the United States and Saudi Arabia. Because when I was in medical school, nobody even know what match means. So you need to know the timeline so you can even have the U.S. experience. You need to know, to plan for to take your exams. all the things change with the exam. So UCMLE, when we say UCMLE, we mean three things: step one, step two, step three. Step one, now it's recent change. It has been not score anymore. It's only a pass and fail. Then step two used to be two-part CK, which is stand for clinical knowledge, and CS, which is for um, clinical skills. It's only clinical knowledge, which basically means only MCQs. So it's very similar to step one. And then step three, it's optional to have it before you apply, but you have to apply. You have to have it before you end your residency. So there is another word you might hear it from other people. It's called ECFMG certified. When we say ECFMG certified, it means you finish step one and step two, and then right now step one and step two CK. If you finish both exams and you have both results, you are called ECFMG certified. In another word, you are eligible to apply to United States program. So then going back to ERAS, Electronic Residency Application System, you need to understand the system very well because it's a 1 year cycle, and um, you have to know exactly when you should apply. So it opens every year around the end of July, mid of July, but you're not allowed to submit your application until September 7th for this year. The dates might change over the years. And again, everything I say, please go back to the official websites. But I checked it yesterday, and it looks like the cycle starts September 7th. So although the cycle opened on September 7th and it stay open until I think end of the year, you should make sure you apply and submit. You have full application by September 7th, because when you apply, it's not like here. Here, I think the cycle closes and nobody can apply. So actually, with the ERAS system, the cycle stay open. So basically, you can apply even in December. You can apply in January. But the problem is, most programs pull the applicants pool a week after the submission. So by September 14, even if you apply, there is a high chance that your application might not be pulled, and nobody will really even take a look at it. So as an IMG, when I say IMG, International Medical Graduate, or anyone who actually graduated from a school outside the United States, you should make sure that you don't miss that. September 7th, your application should be ready. And I don't want to talk about details about each step, because each step from these maybe it deserve at least a lecture. So if we're talking about preparation, UCMLE preparation, it might need another lecture. If we talk about ERAS, you need another lecture. Interviews, how to prepare for interviews, also that need a different lecture. Excuse my typos here. It's not rank list, not left. So the interview season, there's an interview season, and each country has an interview season. Like Canada is different from the United States, and the interview season is from October to January. Usually, as an IMG, you won't be invited as early as October, maybe a little bit later, November or December. But usually, when they start interview season, we mean when the programs start to call for applicants to apply to interview, and then they can decide which program they're gonna go with. Then the match for this year will be in March 1st. The rank list closed, so that means you have to rank programs by March 1st. March 13th is the match week. On Friday, which is March 17th, the match day, which basically everyone knows where did he match. I'll take questions at the end, so if you have any questions about any of these steps, you can ask later. Okay, so as a medical student, you are applying for the United States. What do you need to have? What they look for? Of course, everyone is different. So if I say scores, and everyone says scores, scores it's a requirement. It's not like everyone will have to do scores, or even good scores or average scores just to apply. So since step one become only a pass and fail thing, now you may need to make sure that you pass from the first time. And I don't want to say that to increase your anxiety, but as an IMG, you already have one barriers. And when I say even IMG, you're IMG on a visa, because even Americans, if they went to medical schools abroad, they are still considered an IMG. So international medical graduates, it doesn't mean that you need to be um, just a foreigners. Even American could be, they could be IMGs. So if you are graduating from a school from outside the state, so that's one, I would say, minus. You are not an American. That's the second thing. Then you need a visa, which is genuine visa probably. That's the third thing. And then you are applying your, and English is not your first language. That's the fourth thing. So there's a lot of barriers to apply, and you need to eliminate all these barriers. So if you fail also steps, one of these steps, that could be an issue. Sorry, I just have a notification I need to turn off. Okay, going back. So you want to eliminate all these barriers, so you need to make sure you pass from the first time. Otherwise, because some programs actually will eliminate you from their rank list just because you passed second time. And if you did it and you already failed, sorry, and it didn't go through. And if you did it and you failed, you need to make sure to consider other alternatives because uh, you might have a very low chance to get accepted if you are um, second time or you have a second attempt steps. So then when you're gonna apply, you should have a U.S. experience. I know it's not required. They don't say that oh U.S. experience is required, but as a foreigners, when you apply to programs and be in a program for more than 6 years, seeing people coming from outside and reviewing applicants, with a part of the process as a resident in the U.S. Program, all residents usually review the applicants' applications to just look for we help the program to decide which applicant they should take. So if someone never had an experience with U.S. Hospitals or U.S. system, the United States health system is very complex, and you need to come here to see it by yourself. So it's not required like oh you have a checkbox, you have a U.S. experience. You have to come and you had an experience because you kind of basically lie. You can say oh I have an experience, but you never did it. But they're gonna ask you about it. So you have to know the system. You have to know what you're looking for, how they do notes, how they do exam people, how just the process goes. So if you really would like to come here, I would really encourage you to do an UX experience, even during medical schools, during internship, even after graduating. You can either do it by yourself, you can pay a company to help you to get you through a system, you can ask a friend, you can ask a relative, whatever. It works for you. Just get an US experience. That will definitely help increase your chances. Personality, they look for you as a person. They need to the skills. You have other activities other than medicine. And because that could be the hook. There's many reasons why people get interviews. It's not all of them about scores. Most of the time, it's not actually about scores. It's about something else. For me personally, I didn't had like high scores. I had like average, maybe a little bit above average, but I didn't had high scores. And I get, I think, a good number of interviews when I compare myself to my peers. But not because my scores, it's because my application. Um, I had other skills, other stuff that I did in my life that maybe helped me to get a spot or helped me to get an interview. So interest. Are you really interested in this program? So what I really encourage you is to make sure you know which subspecialty you would like to apply for. Don't do what most people do. Oh, I want to do surgery. And then, oh, I'm going to just apply medicine as a backup. And if I'm in medicine, a second backup. And a preliminary is the third backup. These people has been interviewing people for years. The program director, so they can smell it. So if you are really applying without an interest, they can spot you right away. It doesn't matter how smart you are. All medical students, all physicians are smart. So you will be stand out and they know that you're applying as a backup either because they're gonna ask you an interview you or from your personal information, like for example you never did I want to do surgery but I never did surgery rotation as an extra elective, or I don't have a recommendation from a surgeon, so why are you applying for a surgery, for example. So things like that. You had a volunteering experience. Oh, I love medicine. Medicine is my passion. Okay, what did you do for medicine other than doing your medicine rotation? Okay, so then I'm gonna tell you something why you should not apply, because everyone will tell you, oh, yes, it's a good programs. They have a good well structured. But I really would like you to know a few things that you need to consider before you apply. As a foreigner who's applying to the United States, who never been in the United States before, never lived abroad for a while, maybe visiting or for a few weeks or months, but never been here for like a whole year, you need to think twice about these things. First of all, the cost of living. You are a resident, and your paycheck will be less than, I would say, within an average, less than an average. And even if you are in a scholarship, if you have a family, it will be really hard to raise a family in the United States because the cost of living is so high. If you don't have support from home, if you don't have a sponsor from home, that could be a little bit challenging, and you might need to live in a certain, I would say, يعني تحتاج طبقة معينة يعني. You have to make sure that you can live this and take it for a few years until you graduate. Then you have to make sure that you have future plans. So I just want to go to the US. Why? What do you would like to do? Do you have a plan? Do you have a specialty? Do you have some specialty in mind? Do you have a sponsor? Do you would like to go back in a specific place? Are you planning to fill a need? And do you have backup plan? Backup plan is very important because, as I think when Dr. Khalid Hamdan talked about before, you when you come here, you are not sure. There's nothing. Nobody will can actually prove. Or there's no guarantee that you're gonna get a spot in a fellowship or in residency or even in any program. So you have to have a backup plan. If you are coming here, oh, I'm gonna apply to this. I don't see anything else other than coming here and being trained here. That's wrong. You need to have plan B, plan C, plan D. So other country, master programs, research program, go locally. So you have always backup plan, because if you have a backup plan, you will never fail. You're gonna choose, you're gonna fail maybe plan A, but you're gonna be, it's still in your plan, and you can go always to plan B. Family arrangements. There's a lot of factors, especially if you are married, if you have kids, if you are planning to get married, if you are planning to get kids, because uh, things also can be different. It's hard, especially if a physician who is actually married to a other physician. So both of you might need to be on call at the same time, being out of work. So if you have kids, you have to consider the cost of living again, because you need to support your family during training, if that's what you are planning to do. Cultural differences. I think you need to consider that as a resident, they tell you that you're gonna work max as in 80 hours a week. That's the normal working hour for any kind of residence. And the truth is, they put your schedule to the max. So in the paper, your schedule is almost 80 hours a week, but in the real life, you're actually working more. When I say 80 hours a week, that's 16 hours a day, and I'm not really exaggerating. If you talk to anyone who did a residency here, I had a lot of weeks when I worked 100 hours a week, and I did a family medicine residency. I'm sure surgery, medicine, ICU, they actually maybe did even more. And it's 80 hours a week for us as an IMG, since you need to learn typing, communication, you need to learn the system. It might take you longer than 80 hours a week if you compare yourself to your peers. So, are you willing to do this? Whatever, how hard it is, the on-call in Saudi Arabia, I was in, I did my internship for Saudi. I was a resident for a few months for Saudi. I know it's hard still, but it's completely different here. And plus, you are a foreigner, so there is a cultural barrier here, a language barrier. Plus, you are alone, so consider that. Um, Visa challenges. You need every year you need to apply for a visa, either temporary work or J1 visa, or if you are here as a student, you need to have a visa. So consider that there is a small chance you might get rejected for any reason. So we had a lot of friends who were not able to continue their training just because they had visa issues. So you need to consider that it's not only, oh, just a study, just a steps, just acceptance, just a sponsorship. It's always just money. No, there's sometimes visa challenges, and I came when there was like the ban on some visas, and that actually changed a lot of things on us as physicians who applied for training in the United States. So there's some challenges, as I said. It also depends on your specialty. You might hear something from me, and maybe a surgeon will tell you, "Oh, don't apply to this. There is no spots, and that could be true. Surgery is really competitive, even for Americans. So imagine um, with being competitive for Americans, especially high-paid specialties like a GI, a cardiology, cardiosurgery. They're really hard to get, and I'll talk about sponsorship. And if you hear some people actually get accepted, I would like to explain to you why. Okay, so should you apply abroad? The truth is, the local programs are not bad. I have been in a local program. I know my friends who actually been in a local program. They're getting training. So you need to understand locally of Saudi, they are all considered class A or Fiat Alif training. When you train in the United States, North America, Canada, or with Saudi, there is also few European countries. The training is good in Saudi Arabia, and you will not learn a new medicine here. The same medicine you learn in Saudi Arabia, of Saudi, you're gonna learn here. So it's the same information, the same thing you learn in medical school. Even the training, the guidelines, we all follow the guidelines, even locally. So you will not find a different, medical knowledge. The only thing it might make you a stronger applicant is that, or a stronger physician is that you're gonna study the basics again when you do your UCMLE. So imagine if you are passing medical school just by passing, you know, by cheat at, whatever you will do, cheating, anything you did just to pass medical school, you would be forced to go back again and read what you missed. So I think that's a big difference between people who actually get trained abroad and people who trained locally, that they went through their basics again and they know what they're dealing with. The big difference, so knowledge wise, there is no big difference. There maybe with surgery, some techniques, new way to treat things, but only new things. But in general, I would say there's nothing really different. What is really different is the system and the policies. The system itself is really new. The U.S. Healthcare system. I mean, it's a debatable topic, but the U.S. health system is very complicated and complex. So that it has a lot of reasons why, but people get to get trained here from everywhere in the world for a reason, because if you really would like to learn how health system works, you should be here, because that's they and it has its pros and cons. I'm not saying the United Health System is the best health system. I'm just saying it's very complex and complicated, and you really, if you would like a challenge it, and I'm really interested in systems, so I really liked what I learned so far. I can understand how insurance works. I can understand how the governmental insurance also works, and I can understand how when private entities works or academic center works in a perfect settings, what happens, and community hospitals when they actually out of the financial pressure, how that works. I think personally, what is the really big difference is professionalism. As a trainee and as being trained in both systems before, that professionalism is completely different. So you're gonna see a huge I don't know if it's a cultural difference or uh, although most of the people who actually trained us, they're coming from the states. But when you come here, you're gonna deal with people differently, deal with patient differently. The even your relationship with your patients is different than the السعودية أو بشكل عام العالم العربي. And every time we have a patient from the Middle East, I always remember how patients dealt with us back home في السعودية. سبحان الله بيجيبوا نفس الكالتشر بتيجي أحيانا هنا, we can see it. I can see the challenges. بالسعودية for professionalism wise, it's a completely different world when we talk about relationship with patients and even with your supervisors. Subspecialty, if you are applying for surgery, consider it twice. It's very hard to get. It's not impossible, but you really need a good mentor. You need to know your limitations. You might consider maybe Canada or other places, but make sure that you have a high chance when you apply, especially if you're applying for medicine. And one easy way to know it is that when you see people who actually get trained before you, you're gonna know that oh, I have a chance. There is a chance, and based on how many people, like say for example, internal medicine has the highest, I would say, chance to get accepted, just because we have more affiliated spots, we have more people are applying, and there is more numbers of programs for internal medicine rather than other programs. So that's, for example, it's easy to apply for internal medicine than other specialty, not because internal medicine is easy. It just has a higher spots than others. Okay. So if that's okay,